Today we're gonna have a look at the brand new Arcana lenses from DZOfilm. These are 1.5x anamorphic lenses. That means you can use the full 3x2 of a full frame sensor to get to CinemaScope, but they also have an oval iris, which means they should have the look of a 2x anamorphic lens. Let's see what they can do.
The Arcana set consists of three focal lengths: a 75mm, a 45mm and a 32mm, that all share the same dimensions, a surprisingly low weight and a professional PL mount, as well as an aluminum housing with a brass look. While that is pretty sexy, the real quality of the Arcana is on the inside. A 1.5x anamorphic squeeze factor allows you to utilize every pixel of a full-frame camera in 3x2 open gate and squeezing that into a cinematic widescreen aspect ratio with those juicy horizontal flares. Usually, a squeeze of 1.5x means muted waterfall bokeh, but the Arcana sport an elliptical aperture that gives you the intense over bokeh of a classic 2x anamorphic lens without introducing the optical defects that come with a stronger squeeze factor. The Arcana preserve the advantages of spherical lenses like a better close focus, less aberration, compact size and lower cost. The very similar weight and identical dimension make the Arcana even gimbal friendly. We got the Arcana into the studio and on an URSA Cine 12K to explore how they look wide open and closed down, how they flare and what the close focus means in practical terms. We will also compare them against real 2x anamorphic lenses like the Atlas Orion and DZOfilm's own Pavo lenses. Can the Arcana deliver the best from both worlds, making the concept of a hybrid anamorphic lens a valid one?
Now that the night has come, let's see if the Arcana are as explosive as... Oh my Jesus Christ, what is that? Being something like anamorphic aficionados, we created many episodes about anamorphic. The details of the process, the history and the fashion through the decades. We dabbled in DIY a lot, but in the last few years more and more affordable options were introduced to the market. And of course we tested a lot of those. I always get excited when new anamorphic lenses come in, especially if they bring something new to the table. And the Arcana promised us that. Getting the best of the spherical and the anamorphic realm into one lens sounds fantastic. And we will absolutely put that to the test. But before we go into the details, let's take one step back and explore why you would want what the Arcana offer.
Many iconic movies of the last 70 years have been shot in anamorphic to bring widescreen to cinemas without having to change the established 35mm film format. Even after a Super 35 and improved stock made anamorphic technically unnecessary, the anamorphic look was so ingrained as high-end cinema it remained desirable and had a renaissance in the digital age to optically soften an often stereo digital image. When we say the anamorphic look, we usually mean 2x anamorphic lenses that create distinctively oval-shaped bokeh and horizontal flares. That is not to say that 2x anamorphic was the only stretch factor. Ultra Panavision 70 uses only 1.25x stretch to create a cinerama aspect ratio with a 70mm camera. Movies like Ben-Hur, The Hateful Eight and Rogue One use 1.25 stretch. If you want to make a deep dive into everything anamorphic, we have the Scope series following Blade Runner.
Let me tell you about my mother.
I'll put a link in the corner. 1.5x anamorphic stretch also has historic use. 3x2 VistaVision, how 35mm full frame is referred to in traditional cinema, was paired with 1.5x anamorphic lenses for widescreen, a process called Technirama, Spartacus being the most prominent production shot in the format. 1.5x anamorphic remained relatively obscure until digital full-frame cameras with 3x2 open gate mode became common. Just like historic VistaVision, it creates widescreen aspect ratio without losing sensor real estate. That is, if your camera can film an open gate. You hear me, Sony? Project Hail Mary also used 1.5 anamorphic, specifically the Atlas Mercury, but in a more exotic fashion. Fraser used the Alexa 65 that has a native widescreen sensor. He then mounted the lenses rotated by 90 degrees to get a vertical stretch and turning the native widescreen closer to the higher IMX aspect ratio. This also means that the flares don't stretch horizontal, but vertical. A normal full-frame 3x2 sensor also gives some interesting options with 1.5x squeeze. Here I use the Arcana mounted normally to turn a 3x2 into widescreen. Here I rotated the lens by 90 degrees to get a 3x4 aspect ratio. And here I rotated the camera by 90 degrees to get horizontal flares again, arriving at an almost square aspect ratio using every pixel of the sensor but maintaining the classic anamorphic look, ideal for multi-aspect ratio productions. As you see, just like 2x anamorphic, 1.5x create distinctive horizontal flares, but the waterfall bokeh is much less pronounced. These shots are from Morty's The Road to Hollywood series that are also shot on the Atlas Mercury that carry a hefty price tag of $8,000, that is, per lens. By the way, if you haven't seen Morty's The Road to Hollywood, check it out. It's free on YouTube and it's really good. Morty went on a road trip through the United States to reflect on the dream of Hollywood. And the result is a nostalgic, romantic and critical series of documentaries about the film industry and its cultural impact. It saddens me that content like this is not as popular as gear reviews, so it's up to us to set the right signals to change that. Like mentioned, and if you need inspiration, that series was shot exclusively on the Atlas Mercury with 1.5x anamorphic stretch.
Talking about the Atlas Mercury, as good as they look, that look is not the classic 2x anamorphic look. Now, wouldn't it be great if you could combine the advantages of 1.5x anamorphic lenses while still getting the classic oval bokeh of 2x anamorphic? Let's call it an anamorphic hybrid lens. That is exactly what the Arcana want to do for you.
At this time, the Arcana lineup consists of 3 focal lengths, a 32mm, a 45mm and a 75mm. They share the same aluminum alloy with a brass color that DZOfilm calls titanium, which is weird as titanium is colorless. Anyhow, it looks quite sexy. You can choose between metric and imperial markings. From the front to the flange pane, all lenses are 80mm long and all have an 80mm diameter with 77mm threads for filters and diopters. The Arcana are small next to the already compact Pavo, DZO's own Super 35 2x anamorphic lenses. And compared to an Atlas Orion, they're tiny. This, combined with a consistent weight of 700 grams plus minus 14 grams, makes the Arcana very gimbal friendly. We didn't rebalance the gimbal after each of these shots. The Arcana have an image cycle of 43.3mm, which covers the full 3x2 of a full-frame sensor, but might vignette a tiny bit on the Alexa LF and Red V Raptor in open gate modes. All focal length open to T2.1, and that brings us to the special sauce that makes the 2x look possible. From the front, it looks like the very elongated iris of a 2x anamorphic lens. From the back you see that the iris is not circular, but it's physically oval. The physical 1.5x aspect ratio of the iris combined with the 1.5x optical stretch of the anamorphic elements result in a 2x aperture. The Arcana are very affordable at $1,100 per focal length or $3,000 for the complete set. The Arcana only come in PL, and you might think that this is a weird choice given that these lenses are so suitable for mirrorless cameras. And maybe DZOfilm thought so too, because they have a summer special right now. If you buy an Arcana, they throw in an Octopus 2 PL adapter worth $200. This is not the updated 2 but the original Octopus, and it's my favorite PL adapter. Even with an adapter, the Arcana feel very light and compact on a mirrorless. Now let's head back into the studio and check if the Arcana keep their promises. We are here in the studio of the Marmalade, and we have the honor to be supported by their crew. We will conduct the test on an URSA Cine 12K in 8K with open gate readout. We decided to use the DJI Focus Pro for autofocus with the Arcana, but the system allows you to switch to manual focus, which is supported by the depth map. The Spike motion control system will give us a great advantage for our test. It will make flares absolute controllable and comparable between all focal length of the Arcana set and in comparison to 2x anamorphic lenses. Let me show you around on the set so you know what's going on. We have a large breezer reflector with an HMI as our key, and a Kinoflow will be our eye light. The light bulbs and the spotlight on the robot are tungsten, and our background is lit by sky panels. So we use every light source in the book, even laser. Just to try something new, we used a laser projector to project a backdrop behind our windows. The question was if my super bright triple laser beamer, the Titan Noir Max from X-Jimmy, would be enough to work in a filmmaking context. Of course it is not virtual production, as the image is just a video and not a volume. If you are interested in virtual production, we have a deep dive episode for that. Link is in the corner. But if you don't have access to multi-million-dollar LED walls, how far would a consumer beamer get you? We also use the Titan for the projection in our product shots. If you're interested in the Titan Noir Max and what you can do with it as a filmmaker, or how we did the product shots, we have a review episode about that out. Link is in the corner. Here in the studio, it's not about color fidelity or the IMAX certification, but about how good the contrast is when we block out the studio lights as good as possible. Of course, we will help a little in post to boost the highlights, just like you would with an LED wall.
Now that you know the setup, let's test lenses. We don't want to give you our opinion shot by shot. We rather have you taking in the test as a moment of zen and make up your own mind with what you are seeing. If you are interested in our 2 cents, you will find that in the verdict at the end of this episode. You can find all shots from our versus comparison in our episode's action pack, free for our Lynch and Kubrick members. All in the original 8K BRAW, straight out of camera, 100 gigabytes of it, so you can really see what quality is in it. You will find download links in the membership tab of our channel homepage. Now, before we go into our verdict, I have a new toy and it's really cool and I wanted to show you.
What you see here is the Lit Duo 1 from Lit Systems, a light meter that has turned heads when it hit Kickstarter earlier this year, tripling their funding goal. The Lit Duo can give you accurate color temperatures and tint of your lights, which comes in super handy with traditional sources like HMI and tungsten that shift when dimmed. If you want to match your LED sources precisely, you can now dial in the exact color. Of course, you have exactly those things that you can also see in false color, but it's very useful to be just able to check what aperture you need for the right exposure for any specific point in the scene, or using a different ISO without having to set it in camera. But the most amazing thing for me is the flicker mode.
So the image flickers quite obviously. Let me check in the front what the frequency is.
Yeah, okay. We're on 25 frames right now.
I mean, how often have you stood in a set or on a location and you had a flicker that you just never seem to get rid of? Here, the Lit Duo is my new hero. The Titan Aura has very noticeable flicker in 25 frames per second and at 100-degree shutter. You can measure that flicker with the Lit Duo and it will tell you at what frequency the source is pulsing and how much. Not only that, it will suggest shutter speeds that will reduce or eliminate the flicker for any frame rate you dial in, even high speed.
So now if we put the shutter to 188.4, the flicker should stop. Let's check it out.
188.4.
And it's gone.
Yeah.
And I think that is pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Takes all the guesswork out. And that's not even all. If you have sources that flicker at different speeds, the Lit Duo can suggest shutter speeds that give the best results with all given light sources. For me, the Lit Duo 1 is worth the $800 price tag, just for the flicker feature. I wish I had it in the past, and I'm sure it will save my ass many times in the future.
And if you think, hey, the projector does flicker in some shots, I know, I'm not sure what happened there. It's only there in a few shots and only on the URSA, probably related to the specific sensor readout.
Shout out to Lit Systems for sending me the Lit Duo 1. Thank you. I love it so much that I go to sleep having it around my neck, just to check the spectrum of my dream colors. The only thing I would do different is to make the rope a little bit longer so long guys like me can still put it in their pockets. If you are interested in more information about the Lit Duo 1, I will put a link in the description. Full disclaimer, DZOfilm sent us a set of the Arcana for evaluation free of charge. Therefore, this review is marked as a paid promotion. As always, we don't have to glorify anything. We will tell you exactly what we think and give you some test shots and our honest opinion, so you can make up your own mind. With that out of the way, let me give you our verdict after shooting with the Arcana for about 2 months. If you are looking for lightweight and versatile anamorphic lenses that work as well on mirrorless as on cinecams, the Arcana are a very good choice. They easily cover full frame and are a very good option for something like Alexa OpenGate that can make Super 35 anamorphic lenses struggle. The very similar weight makes balancing them on a gimbal a breeze, and they are so light that you can use them handheld all day. They are fast enough to work well with available light, even in dim situations. The mechanical quality is very good for a budget lens, just like you're used to from DZOfilm, just in an unusual light way.
Optically, there's little to complain about. The Arcana are designed to hit a sweet spot between look and clarity, meaning that you can use them to shoot for multiple aspect ratios and zoom in without the image falling apart, something you usually don't want to do with anamorphic. While mimicking 2x anamorphic lenses, the Arcana don't have the most expressive anamorphic look. which would be the diametrical opposite of the clarity we just mentioned. You do have to choose what you want from an anamorphic lens. While I do like barrel distortions on wide anamorphic, the 32mm has a lot of that, and you should be aware of that. Still, if you want a Cooke X-Tal look like you have an Ex Machina, that's not what the Arcana give you, and they are not made for that. But if you want a practical, compact all-rounder with a good close focus, we think they're great. We really appreciate that there's no swimming effect like you often see it with budget anamorphic lenses, especially the very compact ones.
Most of all, they are fun to work with, and they can give an otherwise mundane image that little bit of an extra spiciness. For the price, they are very accessible, and I see a clear advantage comparing them to other options in the same anamorphic price bracket. Before we thank the crew, please leave us a like if you think that we deserve one. Also, leave us a comment. That really seems to help with the algorithm, and we can only produce this kind of quality if enough of you see it. Thank you.
I want to thank the Marmalade for supporting this project by letting us use their studio, gear and the Spike motion control system. It's always like being in the chocolate factory for filmmakers. Nothing would happen without the excellent team of the Marmalade, who generously helped setting everything up and filling in with various jobs during the shooting. Christopher Klemmer was one more time our main producer and also the Spike operator. Annelie Winkler was our first AC and nailed the focus every time the Focus Pro was not handling the pulse. John Haag was a great all-rounder, filling in many positions, and so was Chiara Del Bufalo. Thanks for all the efforts. Max Heinemann was our talent for the day. The camera loves you, and so do we. And Morty shot behind-the-scenes material. Thank you to you all. We couldn't do anything close to this without your support and team spirit.
There's a weird man in my house.
Last but not least, I want to thank DZOfilm for giving us the Arcana to make this review for you. It's always a pleasure to collaborate with you.
And of course, we want to thank all the members of this channel. You make this possible, and we are very grateful for your kindness and your support. If you love our content, please consider becoming a member yourself. We have a lot of interesting perks for you, like our action packs that come with major releases. Like mentioned, we have a bit of downloadable raw footage of this lens test in our action pack for this episode, and many things from our past releases. Check it out. If you're a manufacturer of filmmaking gear or an industry hero that wants to work with us, let's talk. We are always open for interesting projects and ideas. Our email is in the description. This is it for today. Thanks for watching. I'm Nicholas, signing out with delicious wishes. Shoot something amazing.